Nestled in the Detroit River, just south of Detroit, is the island of Grosse Ile. This small island, the largest on the Detroit River, has taken advantage of its relative isolation with a distinct approach to preserving its natural landscape. I recently traveled to the home of Dr. Bruce Jones, a proud member of the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy, to learn more about this small community.
The local Native American myth is that the Great Spirit spoke to the tribes on the East Coast and said, move west until you find ample food in the water. And this is why they settled this region, because of the wild rice beds, the tremendous number of fish.
The pristine and diverse landscape that first captured the attention of the island's Native American settlers is still a point of pride for many of its current residents. In an effort to protect the island's cherished natural landscape from rapid development, the township-run Open Spaces Committee and the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy were formed in the early 90s.
Because living on Grosse Ile, we were always concerned about development because in the early 90s there was quite a bit of development on the island, and we could see that the developers didn't take care of the trees and so forth, and we were really concerned about, about a more environmentally responsible development. Several of us came together and we formed the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy to provide a vehicle for people to donate land that they wanted to preserve in its natural state. And at the same time, the township had previously decided to purchase open space with tax money, and so the island has a millage for open space. In other words, in Michigan, I don't think there's any community or township or county that has an open space, which is rather unusual because most states in the country now have open space millages on a county level. And Michigan is really on the bottom when it comes to conservation spending.
According to a March 2008 report by Michigan State University's Land Policy Institute, the Great Lakes are at the bottom of the list when it comes to conservation spending. Although Michigan ranks as having one of the largest resource base, it is 47th in per capita conservation spending and dead last in the conservation spending gap. This disconnect with nature is one the Conservancy wishes to mend with its many educational programs.
A big part of what we do is education, and so we have an environmental education program. We're trying to interact with basically people of all ages, so kids in the schools, as well as hosting programs like today, the Earth Day celebration, for everyone in the community to come out. So yes, from senior citizens to preschoolers.
Yeah, it's a real community, and it came from Iowa where we had towns and downtowns, and there was a community, to this suburban suburb where you never know where the downtown is or what community you're in. But Grosse Ile is unique. All of its businesses are on one street. It's a community. Everybody knows what's going on. It's a real community. And they take pride in it. And they know that the open space is important. The reason I moved here is I came driving across Grosse Ile Parkway in late February and saw the trees, even in the dead of winter. And I said, here's where I want to live, because of that. And I think that's why people come here.
Grosse Ile's strong sense of community has made it a national example of smart growth. Through its Open Spaces program and its Nature and Land Conservancy, Grosse Ile has been able to control the pace and direction of development in the midst of rapid urbanization.
The majority of people are now living in an urban setting where people are, living close together, lots of traffic, noise, lots of people around, advertisements, stores, big buildings, and no contact with nature.
Just nature, yeah.
And the feeling that that they really, the laws of nature don't mean anything to us.
The United Nations Population Fund reports that the world is undergoing the largest wave of urban growth in history. For the first time in history, more than half of the world's population lives in towns and cities. This trend will continue to present cities with critical choices for smart growth decision-making and the need to strike a balance between urban development and conservation of natural spaces. Grosse Ile serves as an example of one community's approach to dealing with this changing demography. It is not without its shortcomings, with almost all of its natural shoreline in the hands of private ownership. But it does show how an impassioned and willing community can take steps to protect the future of its land use and conservation of its natural environment.